And so this methodology grew into, and you can do it with qualitative data and quantitative data, but what you're looking for are theories that emerge from the data because you have saturation. I've talked to 40 people or 400 people asking these questions. And so for compassion, we started by asking, what is compassion to you? And we developed a definition of compassion. And then we looked at people who lived out the operationalized definition of compassion, that saw humanity in everyone, who reached out with kindness and empathy. There was a oneness. And then we asked, okay, here are these group of people, what do they share in common? And we looked for a long time because I think I was looking in the wrong places, but what I realized is that they were incredibly boundaried people. And so that was confusing to me. So we went back and did what we call selective coding. We went back and said, here's what I'm finding. Does that resonate with you as one of our compassionate people? And they said, I would have not languaged it that way, but yes, I'm very clear about what's okay and what's not okay. I'm very clear on boundaries. I don't subject myself to the abuse of other people. I'm like, but you're compassionate. And they're like, yeah, I'm compassionate because I don't subject myself to the abuse of other people. And so from that, we developed this idea of big, what boundaries need to be in place for me to be in my integrity and generous towards you. And one of the times I tested it out was with a group of deacons in this isolated, you'd love this place, like West Texas town, like replete with tumbleweeds. And or a group of clergy who have to travel, and they marry everyone and they bury everyone, and they go from small town to small town. And I asked this series of questions, so it's really interesting. So the first one is, do you believe that people are doing the best they can? Do you believe in general that when people wake up every day, they're doing the best they can? What do you think?
Yes, I do.
You do? So it's very split, and it's a very difficult question because about right over half of the people say, fuck no. People suck. People are not doing the best they can. I was one of those people too. I was a hell no, people are not doing the best they can. Then the next question is, if you don't believe it, I want you to picture someone in your life who you believe is not doing the best they can, who really irritates you and just makes you crazy. And everybody would get a picture. And I said, what if God came down? It was easy with a group of,
Well, don't believe
priests.
in God.
Yeah, no, yeah.
He wouldn't come down.
Right.
Well, you're in the clergy. Oh, no.
Yeah, right, exactly. So I said, what if God came down to you and said, this person that you wrote down on your napkin, he or she is doing the very best they can right now. And then what happened was literally physically about half the people in the room kind of fell over and slumped over in their chairs and just started sobbing. And so one couple, both deacons in the Episcopal Church, I said, tell me about the reaction you're having right now. And they said, they were married, both deacons, and they said, we wrote down the same person. And this person lives in a trailer in the desert. They've had their children removed several times. Every time we remove children for abuse or neglect, they have another child. Every time we bring money, they don't use it for formula. They split the formula with water, and they gamble the money. And their kids get removed for failure to thrive because the formula's been split with water. And we kind of hate them. And I said, and God told you he was doing the best he could. It was really about the father and the family. What was your response to that? Continue to help with a loving, non-judgmental heart, or we need to stop helping. But helping through hatred is not helping. And we are outside of our integrity and outside of our faith. And another woman said, I didn't pick someone that I serve as a clergy, I picked my sister. And my sister was a dancer growing up. And now she's a stripper. And I have 2 young nephews who are subjected to who she brings home at night and her job. And if God told me that she was doing the very best she could, and this is the answer that comes out all the time, I would have to stop being angry and start grieving the loss of a sister that I needed in my life. And I would try to love her, but I'd have to have some boundaries about what's okay in front of my kids. And so this whole idea of it's very hard to be compassionate toward people when they're hurting us. And people hold on to believing, for me, it was really interesting because I was like, hell no, people are not doing the best they can. And if that's your best, you suck. And it's not best enough for me. And this was in the middle of it, talking about a God moment. So I'm in the back of the car, I'll never forget, with another couple. Steve and the husband were in the front, and I was riding in the back with my girlfriend, and we were going to see John Mayer at the Woodlands. And I was like, hey, I'm doing this interesting research right now. Do you think people are doing the best they can? She goes, hell no, people are so fucking lazy. And I was like, oh, this is why we're good friends. I'm like, they are, aren't they? She goes, yeah. And we both had young kids at the time. She's, let me give you an example. She's like, what about the people that have kids and they stop breastfeeding before a year or a year and a half? Like, what about those people? She's like, oh, I can't breastfeed anymore. I've got an infection, or I'm going back to work and I don't like pumping. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God, that's me. Like, I quit breastfeeding after like 5 months because I had to go back to work and pumping was just not working and I just didn't do it. So I'm like, yeah, those people are awful. And she goes, yeah, why did you have kids if you weren't willing to do that? That was her take. And I was like, and all I wanted to say was, you don't know me. Like, you don't. And then here's what I wanted to say. I was fucking doing the best I could.
Wow.
And then toward the end of that research, there were a lot of great stories about people we interviewed during that. I asked Steve, my husband, do you think people are doing the best they can? And he said, I don't know, I have to think about it for a little bit. And I said, I want your help. And he's like, okay, let me think about it. And he came back 10, 15 minutes later, and he said, I've thought about it. And he said, I have no idea. But what I do know is my life is better when I assume they are.
Fucking hell, that's good.
Thanks for watching this podcast and going all the way to the end of it. Would you just kind of to click the bell, might not be there, could be over there, and subscribing so that we can infiltrate your serenity and peace of mind with jangling bells and buzzes. Thank you.